What do you use?
Monday.
How do you communicate with team members with Monday?
So you would add them to it, and then do you use Slack?
I do.
So it's the same thing, like in each line item, you can just add them. No one notify them or send them an email. So you can have a full conversation about a project or a certain task in that task list.
In Monday
Correct.
with Slack?
No, you would add them. You actually can connect the two. I haven't just because of how I've set them up. It doesn't work really well. But if you add them in Monday, let's say you have an assistant,
Can we
you
just,
have
can we
their,
actually just, can you just show this to me? And I'm going to record it and I'm going to share it
yeah,
with some of my other people
yeah, hold on.
because I actually really need to get this figured out. This is really hot on my list of,
Yeah, so this is different because this is like a listing checklist, but let me go.
and this is Monday?
Correct. So for example, with Josh, I have his reminders, his one-time tasks, his done stuff. You can do like daily, weekly, monthly task lists, but in each line item, you can comment in them. So you can, let's say he's working on the OAL newsletter, and then we can talk back and forth in that specific thing. He can send
Yeah.
me like the links to the drafts of things. And
Yeah.
so like when you're in Slack, you're talking about 5, 6 different topics. What are you actually referring to?
Yeah. You could do that in Asana as well.
No, Asana is, yeah, it's super similar. So I used to use Asana. I just don't like how they don't really have their dashboards defined, especially in real estate business. I like to separate like task projects versus the deals.
Can you show me how you do that?
Yeah, let me share this one time. It's super simple. So up here, and I'm building out some more based on our coaching stuff, but I have back office, clients, deals, and task management. Whereas
Okay.
Asana, it used to, before they updated, it used to let you break it down this way. But they did some update, which is what made me move from Asana to Monday.
Monday.
How my brain works. It works better for mine. Asana works for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's all annoying to me.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
That's just because I'm not a natural organizer.
Mhm.
I'm a concept figure outer. I'm a
Yeah,
figure out the through line type of brain power,
yeah,
and that's my superpower, but I'm not
yeah.
a, you know,
Implementer.
I'm definitely not an implementer,
Mhm.
and I'm definitely not I don't think linearly at all.
Yeah,
Like this plus this. I've learned to do it, but it's just
yeah.
not my area of expertise. All right, I'm gonna take some of your time
Yeah,
and whoever shows up, it's fine. I just need the recording
yeah.
so that I can use for future use. So can we start with number one? Who are you? Where are you from? And then I want to get into the top. My mission is to talk a little bit about what is the role of an operations manager.
Yeah.
Because you are one, I would be very curious about how you view it, what you think the job description is, and
Yeah.
then we can launch from there. Can you
Yeah.
just start in on that and break into this topic a little bit, and then I'll have plenty more questions to.
Yeah. Just to give background. So I've been in real estate for about 8 years. I did half of my career at the brokerage level. Other half has been like consulting, working independent contract with different people. In that first half, I did every role you can think of at a brokerage. So I was the operations manager, but I handled recruiting, mergers and acquisitions, listing coordination, broker services, commissions, like everything that has to do with it. This other half with consulting, I did a lot of helping teams, brokerages, individual agents get organized, add more structure, hiring operations people for them and training them. And then
Mm.
currently right now I'm working as a director of operations for a team in LA. That's a background on me. As for operations, I was thinking about this after you texted me last night. If I could bucket it, I would say 3 words. I would say operations managers help with structure, efficiency, and scalability. And that's really like the core of the role. And the thing is, it really depends on your structure, how an operations person can help you. I think of them as like your right hand person. They do all the things you don't want to do. They're like the eyes and ears of your business. So you should be able to go to your operations manager and ask them, you know, what's our commission for the year, what's going on with this team member. Like they're the front line of defense before anyone gets to you. So
Mhm.
that's how I've always viewed it. As far as the type of person you would hire, I would always say
I would say that, but let me back up for a second there. I think one of the challenges that I would say is because you personally have a lot of experience with real estate agents
yeah,
and brokers and teams,
yeah,
like you've got a certain level of comfort in your experience that you could be that person.
yeah.
And so I guess my question is with a self-assessment, is that experience required for an operations manager to have that in-depth level of experience within the real estate industry in multiple roles? Would
I
you say that this is like an essential, or do you think it could be learned? What's your just a general opinion about that?
Yeah, no, I'm half and half. I do think that to have a successful operations manager, they have to have experience, even as like an assistant. But you could have an assistant because they see all the different things, right? They see, that you're doing financials, they understand the deals, they understand the marketing. So I think they have to have a general idea of what it takes for a real estate team, individual business to run. And
Yeah.
without understanding all the different facets, even like at a general, not even in depth, I don't think they'll be able to really help you improve because your operations person really has to be able to find the inefficiencies. That's really what they're there for. Like, where
Right.
are we missing structure? How do I implement structure? What processes are not working or what processes do we not have? If it's not someone that's been an operations manager at a brokerage level, if they've even been an assistant to somebody and had to like play different roles and have different hats, they would be able to come in and quickly understand, here's what you're missing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like an executive assistant, I have one of my great coaching clients who really was an assistant. And then now we're moving them to really this operations manager,
Mm-hmm.
right? They've messed around with transactions, with listings, listing marketing, listing prep,
Mm-hmm.
with all the other components. And so it's, yeah, they had their hands in all of it. And now
Exactly.
it's time for them to graduate to that next level.
Yeah. Yeah. And you learn as you go, but I do think it's just that core thing of I'm here to add structure. And I think you're really good at making these like big concepts and breaking them down. And operations, I feel like our brains work the same way. If you throw me an idea, you're like, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. My job's going to be how can I take that idea you have and break it down? And how can I implement it and make sure we're executing it consistently? And that's how I think of every single thing that operations person is involved in.
Yeah. Good. For those of you guys that have just shown up, and I'm always,
It's
it's
Mia.
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 All right. Okay. Because once
Yeah.
I get it confused, I'm
I
always,
know
I get
you're
in this
good. You're
weird spot in
good.
my brain. So Mia is, for some of you guys will know, Mia is actually the operations manager for David Solomon in LA. And so I've been having a lot of conversations with her about her role. And so I just wanted to bring her on today for a little bit of time to talk about what does this role look like? How does it work? And I was just picking her, I just want to pick her brain a little bit just for us as well as a group. And then if there's any questions that you guys have, right, of what this role is and how she plays that, like that would be, I think that'd be valuable for us. At the second half of at 10:30, by the way, guys, we're gonna talk about custom GPTs for email and your market stats. And we're gonna bring Karen Stone in on that. So we got 20 minutes with Mia. So let's go back. You said structure, efficiencies, and what was the third?
Scalability.
And scalability. Yeah, I like that a lot. What do you think the biggest challenges are in terms of challenges that you see that we are facing that are like the challenges that like as a leader, I suck at being able to communicate to my team members blank. What would you say, like, where does the communication failure happen from your vantage point with us as the leaders that we need to step up our game with?
I think it's just really taking the time because a lot of agents don't have time. When you hire somebody, you still have to do the next deal. You still have to make the phone calls and all these things. So to stop and really thoroughly explain your vision and what you expect out of your team members, I feel like I see that in every single team. There's just no time to stop. So there's no training that's happening. and then the person that's working for you is just swimming, trying to stay afloat, and then you get disappointed. You're like, they're not meeting my standards, but what is the standard, right? We don't have these conversations. And
Right.
so then it's just a lose game for everybody. And then you have turnover. Like, tell me what brokerage real estate team doesn't have turnover. It's like the number one word in real estate from this vantage point of support teams. And so I really think that's the biggest thing. If you could have an operations person, even someone that came in and said, let me take your brain and put it down on paper, build out your project management system. If you had your Google Drive, if you had all these basic things in place and you had SOPs that people could even just read, you don't even have to go over with them. They could just read it on paper and try to figure that out. You're doing better than most of the agents as far as like having people on your team.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think you're right. We're moving too fast. And then I know for me, just recently, I would explain what I think is my interpretation of the vision to my team member.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be like, cool. And I'm off and running. And then when
Yeah.
I come back to inspect or
Mm-hmm.
inspect what I said, it's a mismatch.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. And I take responsibility for that, knowing that's my fault, even though my instincts are frustration to the team member. Right.
And that is one thing with operations people, that why I was saying it's your right hand. If you could just explain it to your one operations person and you guys can really connect and they can understand your brain, your weaknesses, and all these things, they become that person. You don't have to answer any questions at that point. Like, let's every team that I've worked on, even the current one, they don't go to my team lead. I talk to him and then they're asking me any questions they have. If there's an issue with the team member, I'm always involved in it. Even my team lead, he doesn't make any decisions without me. Even when coaching, when he was deciding what coach I'm going to go with, you have to talk to Patrick. He makes no decisions unless I'm involved in it. So
Yeah.
it's that finding that person that you have that level of trust with. So then you can just spout out these random things that will make no sense to anybody except for this person whose literal job is to be the other half of your brain. So you don't have to think that hard and you can go think about these other things. That's how I've always viewed the operations role.
Sounds great. I'd like one now.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody would.
All right. So I got a couple of you guys here right now. Is there any questions that you have for me? Anything I'll have it on your mind? We were just talking before you guys popped on too. I was looking at our Monday.com and I was asking some questions about project management software. That was hot on my list because I've got to get that figured out. But is there anything that you guys are thinking about or have some questions for? You don't have to, but
Yeah,
Hi.
I'm curious what your org chart looks like because you were mentioning that you're at the top, like you're the funnel that makes everything make sense for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So are you also in charge of the agents as well?
So it's both because I've been licensed in 2 states, but I don't usually take on a role as like a licensed person to manage agents. On our team, we have 2 team leads. One runs the business, he gets all the deals. The other one, she handles a lot of the escrow stuff and deals directly with clients. In any team structure I've been in, it's usually the team lead that directly manages the agents. I more so would come into, I stay in touch with them at all times. Do you need support anywhere? What are we missing? Just any of those conversations the team lead's not having with them, doing goal setting, meeting with them every month, just making sure they feel supported. Hey, are you posting on social media? Hey, let's reference your business plan. It's almost like that coaching aspect, right? So making sure the team is taken care of. And then if there's any issues, bringing it up to the team lead. But then he doesn't have to do all of the shenanigans, right? He just has to get involved when we have to have the tough conversations. And also me really feeling out, even right now, I work remotely for the team in LA, but I'm always feeling out. It's funny because for some reason I'm able to understand the weird things happening in the office without being in the office because you just get a good sense of who your team is. And so if I notice something, I'm like, hey, David, we need to address this. Hey, David, you need to make a phone call. You haven't talked to this person in weeks. They're feeling left out. Why don't you take them to lunch? So it's really being in tune with them more so than managing their business. As far as the real estate, it's more the back office things. Are you struggling with Google Drive? Let me help you. I'm your tech master. I'm just going to jump in and be whatever you need me to be in that moment. And obviously, if I can't do it, I'll find a solution. And I also see that as operations people, it's like we're constantly finding solutions. Every problem, like every day, my day is a problem because that's all I'm supposed to be looking for is problems to solve, being proactive. So that's really my involvement with the agents, but it's not, hey, let me answer your contract question. I make a hard boundary for that. I'm like, I'm not involved in any of that. If you have a problem, I'm going to find the person that could help you with that. I'll make sure that David or Anna calls you, but I'm not going to sit there and go over the contracts with you.
So in terms of the team structure, you've got lead salesperson, Anna, who's lead kind of
Yeah.
contract to close client manager. Then there's you,
Yeah.
and then there's
Office manager, marketing manager, and then we have about 5 agents.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Is the marketing guy, is he full-time or part-time? What's
He's
his?
full-time.
Okay, nice. Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah, no, he is. And it's really hard. It's a hard time for everyone to find good people. A big part of my job over the last 8 years has been hiring people, training people, and it's really hard to find good people. I would say I've interviewed, even in the last 6 months, probably over 100 people. And I wish I was exaggerating.
Oh,
Just
wow.
to find the right people. We've opened up our team to find remote workers, to find people local to LA. We've tried everything. And it's just, I don't know what it is. A lot of people don't feel like working anymore, but it's a hard thing. When I have people asking, how do I find an operations manager? It's a tough thing to find because you can't even find an assistant right now. It's tough.
How would you define if you were just I was having a conversation with someone, the difference between an operations manager versus an executive assistant?
I think there's a lot of overlap.
There is, but what would you
Yes.
say in a perfect world, what
Yeah.
would you say are the points of differentiation?
I would say the management and ability to make decisions. So executive assistants usually support in the vision, whereas operations people, let's say operations managers, I feel like we have more leeway to make a decision on behalf of the team lead. So like a lot of the projects and stuff I take on, my team lead and any team I've worked on, they don't tell me what to do, rarely ever. I'm the one going to them saying, hey, I see a problem here. Hey, I think we need to work on this. So it's really the key thing is being proactive and looking at everything, even going through monthly expenses. I go through our monthly expenses and I'm like, hey, do we need this? We need to shut these things off. Hey, how can we reduce overhead? So that's the key thing is that trust that you build as operations manager is they allow you to just have free reign to do all of these things. David doesn't even know what's going on in marketing or anything ever. I meet with him. We all meet with him once a week. I say, hey, let's download him. Here's your weekly update. And then he's literally out of the picture unless he has like a specific question about something that's going on.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I think that was a good description between the difference, right? Cool. What else? Anything else, guys?
I actually wanted to say one thing. If you're looking at your business and you're wondering where you could be helped, I would say one of the biggest things for an operations manager coming in is where's your SOPs? I know you like this word, Patrick. Where's your SOPs? Where's your structure? Do you have a project management system in place? Do you have a Google Drive structure? Do you have 10,000 emails in your inbox? Because let's not have that. That drives me absolutely crazy. When I go to work with a client, the first thing I do is clean up their inbox. And it's super simple. And I know it's simple to me because my brain works like literally a checklist, but
I'm holding on to your every word right now.
yeah, exactly. It's the inbox. It's even for David. I go in his inbox every day. He never has more than 40 emails in his inbox. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You're using the folder system. Again, Google Drive, you're organizing that. You're making a project management system. Do you have a checklist for your listings? I always try to make it to the point where we don't have to use our brains. When we have a listing, I just want everyone to execute what's on the checklist. You don't even have to think about it. So then it makes your job easier. Like I said, it's that scalability. How can you take on more when you're looking over here? Did I request a Google review? Did I send this out to my sphere? Did I post this on socials? You don't have to think about it. You can just look at your checklist and check the box. So I think it's really simplifying and streamlining all of these things. And it sounds
Actually, can I stop for a second? Because I love what you just said. Organize the inbox, organize the Google Drive, get the project management software operational with all the SOPs.
Yes.
Listing I always said, and I'd love your opinion on this last statement, there's only two ways we make money. We get a home seller from start to close. We get a home buyer from start to close. So
Yep.
if we don't have some version of a how we do
Yes.
it, like an SOP, a checklist, a process that we're constantly evaluating and reevaluating for a buyer from start to finish, a seller from start to finish, that's the root of all things. Like we want to get paid more. We want to, I like your 3 points. We want structure, efficiency, and scalability.
Yeah.
Right. We
Yeah.
can't scale unless the process for converting a buyer and converting a seller is operational.
Yes. And the easy thing too, when you use a project management system, you have your line items. And instead of, some people think of SOPs as like 500 documents in a folder. Yeah, at a brokerage level, it is. At this level, you click the line item, the SOP is right there. You put it right there in the comments. So then anyone can come in and they can click on the task and they can see step by step how they're supposed to do that one specific thing.
One of the biggest challenges, I read the book Systemology. I went on like a binge. I read the book Systemology. I just recently read the book Get Scalable. I read a book on like a bunch of books on this topic of like systems and, business, whatever.
Yeah,
And one of the big challenges is getting the team to use the SOP.
it is the biggest challenge.
Yes. So can you speak to, because it's great that you got one.
Yep.
No one looks at it, no one uses it. Can you speak
Yeah.
to that for a couple minutes if you know anything?
As far as the people that work for you, it's a non-negotiable. The people that you pay a salary to, it's a non-negotiable. This is the standard, is that you follow this. As far as the team members, the way that we do it, it is a challenge we have now. We have team members that don't want to use any of the systems. Then you don't get any of the leads. You don't get any of the extra things unless you're going to abide by the standard and use this. Because if we're handing you leads and you're not tracking the leads in the system we have built out, we don't know if you're converting them. So I'm not going to trust that I can give you these things. So it's really like you can just go do your own thing, or you can be a part of what we're doing and have more business, have a more organized business, have the support of someone who can hold you accountable to your goals. But I think that's just something none of us have solved, right? We're all trying and we're trying to talk to people, but this is a people business. If people don't want to do it, they're not going to do it. That's really how we've done it now, but we struggle with the same thing. There's no recipe.
Yeah, I agree with you. So the salary people, it's just a mandatory.
Yeah.
But agents, it's a constant nudge.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, very cool. Good.
I'm happy to, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, I just have a follow-up question to that because I love how you run it. You run the team virtually, and we don't have an office, but we do have a team. And I find that it's really hard to kind of keep everyone doing what they're supposed to do, keeping all the values and principles and SOPs in front of them. But like virtually, can you talk about that?
Yeah. And so
that's a really good question. Yeah, Helen does run the team. She's almost like the operations manager as well with her husband.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I've always worked virtual even before COVID. So when I worked at the brokerage level, we had 12 offices across Washington and Oregon, and I was in the headquarters. So I still managed my entire operations team across both states virtually. So thankfully I had some experience with it by the time all of this happened and we all went this way. Really, there's just core things that you have to do. One thing is I have a task list for each team member, not agents, but as far as like our staff. And so I look at their checklist every day. I have a project management checklist of the bigger projects we're working on. We go through those every day. I also meet with my team every morning at 10 a.m. And again, by team, I'm talking about salaried employees. We meet every morning at 10 a.m. every single day. We call it our huddle in the morning. And so we go over, and usually before huddle, I talk to my team lead. So I call David at 9 in the morning. I go over, hey, here's the people you need to call, follow up with. Here's your appointments. What's going on with you? What do you need me to relay to the team? And so I pull all his information out of his head, pull it from Anna, and then I meet with them at 10 and I go over my stuff. I'm like, what do you guys have going on? What are your questions? Do we have any closings coming up this week? What videos are going out? So we talk every single day. And then David, again, I check in with him later on in the day. As far as team members, we use Slack. So we're talking constantly all the time. We have different threads, even our deals. I have it set up so we have a Slack channel for every single deal we have going on. So if there's something that's happening, like even if we schedule a photo shoot, it goes into that Slack channel. Josh will say, hey, I scheduled this photo shoot at this time. Cynthia will say, okay, this agent is going to that photo shoot. And so we have all communication spread out between the different deals. We don't have long threads going on. And so I honestly feel like I work very closely with everyone on our team, and I've never even met them in person. I've been working with them for about a year now, and it hasn't made any hindrance in anything. Along with that, David and Anna don't work in the office very much. So they're always out and about. So we're all used to working virtually this way.
What's on the task list? You mentioned in the very beginning, you have 4 things to do. There's a task list. What does
Yes.
that look like?
So the task list is daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually tasks. So break it down that way. So then if there's tasks that they need to do consistently, it's already in there. So they're doing it on the schedule that it needs to be done. And then I also have one-time tasks. So those are tasks that they're doing that day or new things that I'm assigning to them. And so they're all just sectioned out. So I'll just go review and say, okay, what's going on here? Another
Is
thing.
it in a spreadsheet? Is it in Monday.com?
It's in Monday. It's in the
Monday.
project. Everything's in the project management system.
Okay, so
Okay.
I just want to put a stamp on what I just
Yeah.
heard. Yeah, so there's per the team member, there's the what are the I just call them reoccurring
Yeah.
tasks,
Yeah.
daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, and
Yeah.
then so you have a list. So that's almost like a job description kind of
Yeah,
list,
correct.
right?
That's exactly what it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Okay, and then you have then that's separate than the kind of
Yeah.
what's on
The
your
one
list.
time, yeah, and it's the one time is at the top. And then I have one team member, he has a really hard time prioritizing every day. So I actually go in and reprioritize his one-time list every day until he's learning he's kind of green into real estate. So he's learning what's the most important thing to do. So I'll just go in there and reprioritize his tasks every day. And then he and I have a separate call if he needs more support. And that's really how we do it. It makes it pretty simple. But like we were saying before, in order to do that, everybody has to commit to using it, right? Because if he's not putting his tasks in there that Anna, David, someone in the office has assigned to him, then I don't know what's going on in his day-to-day workload.
Can you like maybe show like the marketing guy? What's his name?
Yeah, Josh.
Josh. Yeah, I liked him. I like him. So can we like just see an example of
Yes.
his Monday where we're seeing the daily, weekly, and then I just want to see that visually.
Yeah, and I think Josh has changed. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
I think Josh has changed his a little bit, but here, like right here, we're gonna put in our new quarterly rocks. He has his split into reminders here, and then he has his one-time tasks here. He likes to do every single thing, which is why his is so long. It just helps his brain. He has a done list here. Again, he likes to see things checked off. And the other thing too is I create the structure, but I allow the team members to customize it however
Mhm.
works best for them. I'm never super rigid. I have very basic things like I want to make sure you have A, B, and C. But if you want to move it around or your brain works better another way, I always tell them to go ahead and do it. So he has this whole list. And then down here, he has his daily, weekly, monthly tasks. What I was saying before, and he changed his SOPs or somewhere else, but usually in the comment section here, you click plus and you can put the SOP right here.
Yeah.
And then for, let's say, David, I track his pipeline, which is something I think all of us have a hard time doing. But I have David's pipeline here. And so I have his like miscellaneous follow-up, his buyer opportunity, who's scheduled, who does he need to follow up with, who has he contacted, seller opportunities. So this is the list I go through with David every single morning. I actually read all his text messages and pull out things he's forgetting to do and talk to. So there's a lot of different type of lists that you can have in here. One thing I wanted to show is our master listing checklist. So again, you can do this however you want to. I split it between like pre-listing, listing launch, active listing, in escrow, and closed. And then I used to just have everything listed out. It made everyone overwhelmed. So I split it down even more. Now we have prepare for listing appointment. Here's the items we do to prepare for a listing appointment.
Nice.
If you click on this, now you can see the SOP. Here's what you need to do to prepare for the listing appointment. We have prepare for potential listing launch. I have Once the live date is given, here's the 16 items you're doing. This is what you do the launch day. So we have it broken up in sections. All I have to do is every time we get a new listing or a transaction, you duplicate this entire board, and then you have all your active deals here. So that's how we do it. I also in here have like active deals. So what's upcoming? Do we have a listing agreement and escrows? We have all of our escrows going on, our solds for the year. And then you can start to pull numbers out of this. So sales price, GCI, items like that. So that's why I really like using project management systems is you can do a bunch of different things. It's really the sky's the limit. It just depends on what you want to track. I also have a project overview board here. So here's our Q4 rocks. Here's our in progress projects. Here's the things that are on hold. And then future projects. So if David says something, or even if Patrick says something, I'm like, hey, let's throw it in future projects because we're not going to touch it right now. And then next quarter, we'll come back in here and we'll pull the 3 things we want to work on at that time. So anyway, I know that's a lot of information, but all I have to say is that project management systems, you really can do whatever you want. It just depends on what do you want to track, what's important to you, what pushes your business forward.
And I'm going to duplicate your brain and go insert it into someone else. Okay, there we go.
I love operations. I've tried to leave it before. I can't. I love it too much.
Yeah, and you can tell you've got a good passion for it, and I think that speaks, volumes in today. All right, I will not take up any more of your time. That was awesome. Thank you so much for kind of last minute coming and sharing with us. And yes, Tiffany says we all need one of you.
Yeah,
and we'll connect with you later. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
We'll see you later.
Bye. Thank you. Wow.
I know.
I'm like a beginner looking at all of that she has in place.
I'm like a negative C. That is like, you need to have a high C with you to do that.
That's incredible.
Impressive.
Insane.
Thanks, Patrick. Appreciate that. Jeez, she's like crazy good.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's like, for me, it's like with the Lisa Munoz, like when I see the model, like, and someone shows me like how it works, then at least my brain set to the vision. Then I can okay, let's just reverse engineer. Like, where do I need to go and what do I need to do? So I love being able to see the model.
I have a question. She said that she does most of this virtually. So where does she live?
She lives in Washington State.
Okay, so she's in the States.
And the team is in LA.
Okay.
I know.
Impressive. So that means we could have a virtual assistant anywhere that's like with it. That's yeah.
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 And there's just to touch that for a second, there's a lot of we've spent a lot of time with kind of Philippines virtual system, which is that's one tool set, but there really is also another tool set of what what Mia is, which is more of an expensive, someone who actually has worked and run and operated businesses, and you can actually hire them as virtual staff too. So that is also available, US based, Canadian based, worked in corporate America, very successful. So it is part of our option set. We do want to keep that in consideration, that we're not stuck with today with in market.